Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of the Honest Act. As a co-sponsor of this legislation and a member of the Science Committee, I'm very pleased to see this bill come to the House floor. I represent the congressional district with the highest concentration of petrochemical manufacturing and refining facilities than any other district in the entire nation. This means that thousands of my constituents have been or are currently employed by these industries. In fact, years ago, I spent some time as a worker in one of these very factories. With this in mind, you can understand why pushing for reform, transparency, and accountability within the EPA would be very important to me, because so many of my constituents' livelihoods are affected by costly and burdensome regulations from the EPA. My constituents want to make sure that the EPA's actions, particularly those based on secret science, do not cost them their jobs or their livelihood. Time and again, the EPA has issued extensive regulations without ever showing the science to back up their claims, just to justify these regulations. It's like they have a little black box over there. They don't let anyone else look into it. They just say, "Trust us." Well, we've got good science backing up our claims. I say, if your science is so good, then don't hide it in your little black box. Show us your data. The Honest Act simply requires the EPA to open their little black box to public scrutiny. After we pass the Honest Act, any regulations coming from the EPA must be based on data that is publicly available. What is so offensive about a little transparency? Most companies and businesses would be happy to comply with the EPA when data shows that their regulations are backed up by clear evidence. But many times, if not most of the time, this is not the case. Instead, the regulations are based on secret science that no one but the regulators themselves have access to. When the federal government issues regulations based on secret science, this is yet another example of a federal agency getting away with something the rest of America cannot do. American workers are fed up with an overzealous regulators pushing our jobs overseas. Can I have just a few more seconds here?
Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the gentleman from Texas an additional 2 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. American workers are fed up with overzealous regulators pushing our jobs overseas. This bill is about protecting American jobs and the American economy. In math class, we were taught to show our work, and when we didn't, we got the problem counted wrong. This bill is about transparency, accountability, and holding the government to the same standard that everyone else is. According to a poll by the Institute of Energy Research, 90% of Americans believe that scientific data used to make government decisions should be available to the public, to the rest of us. That's nearly 100%. Not many issues in our current political environment enjoy that level of support. But when it does, Congress should very well listen. The Honest Act is a common-sense legislation that I am proud to support. In conclusion, I ask unanimous consent to add this letter of support from the American Chemistry Council into the record.
Objection?
I applaud the tireless work that Chairman Lamar Smith has done to bring this legislation forward so that we can bring accountability and transparency to the EPA. Thank you, and I yield back.